How's it going, Monkeys Fighting Robots Nation? Matt Sardo here, and we have to talk about Transformers. Oh my God. Transformers #1 drops today from Image Comics, Skybound, writer-artist Daniel Warren Johnson, colorist Mike Spicer, letterer Rus Wooton take the challenge of rebooting the Transformer universe in comic book form. This is interesting. This is very interesting to me because, like, I read it and I wasn't like blown away by it. But hear me out. I was like, I feel like I've been here before. I feel like this story has been told before. It felt kind of similar to my memories of the 80s cartoon. And in my head, I was like, how many times do you need to show Peter Parker getting bit by a radioactive spider? Or how many times do you need to show Batman's parents getting killed? And I was like, this is what I felt. My initial reaction was to Transformers, the new version of it. And I was like, okay, let me go back and read the first Marvel Comics comic book. And I read it and I was like, oh, this is completely different than my memories. The comic book is. And just the evolution of comics from that first issue to where we are today is bonkers. It is completely bonkers. And it's one of those things where I needed to refresh my memory to make a better analysis of the comic book, because what my brain remembered isn't actually what really happened. And I'm sure if I rewatch the first episode of Transformers, the animated show, the cartoon, it might not be what I remember as well. So then I was like, okay, let me reread the new Transformers and let me look at it again. And there's no understating how good Daniel Warren Johnson's artwork is. And Mike Spicer really explodes the color palette of this comic book really well. The 80s comic book is just lots and lots of words. It's really insane how many words are in each panel in this book. We'll do page 2. I'll give you a screenshot of page 2 and just the giant chunks of words that go on in this book. Then I reread Transformers #1 from Skybound, Image Comics, and I was like, holy shit, this is just action all the way. It is bonkers, going crazy, full speed ahead, and just going from the get-go. Where the old comic took so long to build up, and there was so much going on, and I was like, oh man, I can't. Why can't? I'm amazed that my brain had this filled in the blanks and kind of blurred out how boring the old version was compared to what we have now. And I was like, oh, they're doing exactly the same thing that I remember as a kid. And I was like, no, they're not doing. Daniel Warren Johnson, Mike Spicer, and Rus Wooton are, evolved when it comes to storytelling in comics, and the medium has changed completely. I was really impressed with this first issue by them. In my second read, I had to go back and realize how different the original stuff was to appreciate the new stuff. Are there similar elements? Yes. Robots crash land on Earth. You have a giant ship and they kind of rebuild, and Starscream's still a dick. I mean, and Optimus Prime is still the machismo guy. Yes, there are similarities in what happened back in the 80s to what happened now. And I'm really excited for the second issue, because I was once we get past that brief origin, I'm like, okay, now we're off and running. Some of the elements that I'm really excited about of this series are the humans. The humans in this book, Spike and his dad, have a really engaging story, and I'm really excited to see that expanded on, because the humans in the cartoon and this and in the books kind of rode the coattails of the Transformers. And then in the movies, I didn't want to effing see any humans. I just wanted to see robots fight each other. So anytime a human showed up in the movie, I was like, oh my God. Because it was always some token, John Cena, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch or whatever. It was just bad. And we're not even here to talk about the movies. We're here to talk about the comic books. And so now, like, Daniel Warren Johnson, like, creates very engaging characters in Spike and his dad and Spike's girlfriend. And, like, I'm already really jonesing to see where they go and how the universe expands for them. Basically, if you have childhood emotional baggage that you're bringing into a comic book, you have to confront that. And you have to acknowledge it. You have to revisit it and see, like, that your memory is not as perfect as you think it might be. And then you get rid of that emotional baggage, and then you read the comic book with fresh eyes, and then you learn to appreciate what people are doing now. That's the emotional journey I went through for Transformers #1. I really didn't think I was going to go through that much. But let's break down a few pages, because there was a preview. I love that. Okay, so this page right here. I love that Spike wants to be an astronaut. This page is really good. You have tons of panels, but like with the black borders, it doesn't feel like you're really confined. It actually feels open, and you're open to the sky, the night sky, and you're going to look through a telescope there and see everything. And I like this reverse 7 shape that they got going on there with the long cinematic panel and then breaking up into 3. And then you have this, you show the height of the mountain, and then you kind of walk down the mountain in these panels, and then you flip the page with the Me Too. And then you get a little emotional on that. It's a nice close-up of Spike. Then you have what I call the jump scare in comic books, where you have like a nice emotional panel, and then you turn the page and you're like, boom, rumble, rumble, everything's going crazy. Or something jumps out in your face, or somebody kills you, or somebody shoots you, whatever. That jump scare works really well on this one, because you're like, what just happened? And then I love the lettering in the background. The colors work really well. I love this crack. Is it like, it's Karaka. I love when I have to like kind of, but I get the emotion from the letters, even though I can't say it. And it kind of shows how they fall down into the mountain. And that BAM, the handwritten BAM, is really good. And I love the movement of all this. Like, look at that crooked panel, and then you get a little claustrophobic, and then you have the shadow of the sky, and then you have another close-up panel of what the heck, and then we're going to go into another jump scare. Not really, but it's another like, holy shit moment. And that's really good. I think that's really awesome. And then this is the iconic photo or image that I remember from my Transformers youth, and I kind of flipped through, and it's in there in the old version. But I love that mountain crash site, and the way it's laid out, you give it scope, and then you use the space at the bottom to kind of just keep it personal. That's the thing, is that the book has scope, and then it gets really intimate, and that's enjoyable. And you haven't look at it, and you end on another close up of Spike and his girlfriend, and then you have another like, what the hell's going on? And look at the angles and the perspective that Daniel Warren Johnson uses to fit in all the Autobots and Decepticons. Like, it's so good. But what you can tell with the coloring is all the colors are super rich and vibrant. And I can't wait to actually hold the book and see if they're super rich and vibrant. And that's one of the things that like Daniel Warren Johnson likes to do is have these like rich blacks, lots of heavy black ink in there. But then that also makes the reds and the blues and the yellows pop. All right. So this is dropping at noon on Wednesday. So if you've picked up the book already, definitely comment below on what you thought of the first issue. This has me really excited for the second issue, because we get past the origin factor, and then we just get to kind of like run from there and see what happens with, Starscream, Optimus Prime, the rest of the Autobots, rest of the Decepticons. Where's Megatron? I don't know. And then like how Spike's life and his dad's life is changed now the Autobots and Decepticons are here on Earth. and how many more humans are going to get squished. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, do they deserve it? Maybe. But definitely comment below with your thoughts on this issue. It took me, like I said, it took me 2 reads, and it took me rereading the old Transformers comic book, and then me kind of like having a therapy session of being like, okay, my childhood isn't exactly how I remember it. So let's not bring that baggage to the issue. So if you can do that, if you're an old school Transformer fan, if you can put your emotional baggage on the side and just read this with fresh eyes, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Take care, guys.